pendant laquelle on pourra peut-être essayer de voir le bout du tunnel en faisant en sorte que le peuple turc de Chypre recouvre sa dignité et sa pleine puissance économique et politique.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cantoron. You have been a long-time friend, as you have just outlining the recent past, what we have gone through in Cyprus, the diplomatic efforts, what we have been able to do, what we have not been able to do. I think it was a brief description of our recent past. I would like to thank you, the Turkish government, Turkish President Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, for their hospitality, and also Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu for their efforts in organizing this very successful conference. Antalya Diplomacy Forum meetings started last year. We were here last year also. God helped, we are still alive and healthy, and we are here again today. We have had a very challenging year with pandemic and with other problems that the world community has been embracing. But we are here. We are thankful to the Turkish government for organizing this even bigger meeting with thousands of attendees. And as Turkish Cypriots, we are having this opportunity to be able to express our problems, what we are going through, what the problems that we are encountering with regard to the Cyprus problem. First of all, as you have rightly said, Turkish Cypriot rights emanate from history, because we have had centuries on the island. I always say with the Turkish race, 2017, Malazgirt Wars, Turkish nation with the Selçuks, they opened the gates of Anatolia. In 1453, the Ottomans conquered Istanbul. 1571, 80,000 victims in Cyprus, and we conquered the island of Cyprus. This is very important for us, 1571. From 1571 until 1871, Ottomans ruled Cyprus, and they temporarily leased the island to the British Empire until the Ottomans sorted their problems out. Unfortunately, because of the World War, the British Empire, they annexed the island. And in Lausanne, the island of Cyprus out of the Misaki Milli. However, since then, with the support of the Turkish governments, the Turkish Cypriots have had their fight to exist on the island. And in 1960, when the British left the island, as a result of many years of negotiations in New York and in Zurich and in London, the Republic of Cyprus is founded, and Turkish Cypriots are co-founding partners of the Republic of Cyprus. I underline this because this is very important. Even what we are discussing today, our case depends on the fact that we were co-founding partners of the Republic of Cyprus. This is the reality of Cyprus that gives strength to our legal argument in Cyprus. Therefore, since then, we are fighting because in 1963, when we have had these attacks on the Turkish Cypriots to kick us out of the States, and for Makarios and his friends to unite Cyprus with Greece, because they always had in their mind to unite Cyprus with Greece, after the Aegean Islands, after Rhodos, after Crete, as the 13th island, the Cyprus Island. Their national aim was to unite Cyprus to Greece and to basically force the Turkish Cypriots to migrate away from the island. We have had many attempts to remove us from the island, including genocide, including various attacks on the Turkish Cypriots. We managed to survive, and on the 15th of July 1974, we had this unfortunate coup d'etat. The government in Greece, then run by the junta colonels, they, with their friends in Cyprus, they instigated this coup d'etat against Makarios. And on the 15th of July 1974, Colonel Samson, he declared Cyprus Hellenic Republic with a view to unite Cyprus to Greece. Obviously, this gave an opportunity to the Turkish government on the call of the Turkish Cypriots to move, to intervene, because Turkey was a guarantor power. Turkey, fortunately, it did that. They intervened. And on the 20th of July 1974, we have had Cyprus peace operation when Turkish army moved in to restore order and peace so that we had stability again on the island. And we have had that. We have had peace on the island since then. It's been nearly 50 years, and we have had no bloodshed. This is very important. If Turkey had not come in, we would have had bloodshed, we would have had Turkish Cypriots massacred, and the island would have been completely Greek. Therefore, Turkey did the right thing by moving in. Therefore, Turkey, according to us, is never an occupying force. Turkey is there for peace and stability, for the welfare of the Turkish Cypriots, for our security, and obviously as a guarantor power, when you look at the geography, obviously Turkey has her own interests because Turkey is the major force in this part of the region with an 85 million population, only 40 miles away from Turkey, and obviously Turkish security, Turkish interests are as important as the others. Therefore, with the British having their two bases, they have their own interests. Greek Cypriots, they have various associations with Greece, and we, Turkish Cypriots, as a confounding partner of the Republic of Cyprus, obviously, we have vested interests with Turkey. Therefore, Turkish presence on the island and the continuation of the Turkish guarantee is of very critical importance to our existence because it provides our security and it provides also a stability for the region. Because when you look at the details of the Cyprus problem, it's not just only the two Cypriots, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots living side by side in peace and prosperity. It also is a way to preserve peace, stability and order in the Eastern Mediterranean. In fact, Lausanne Agreement in 1923 did have in its spirit to preserve stability in the Eastern Mediterranean. So did the 1960 agreements, and now it is still continuing that if we are going to have peace and stability, Turkish guarantee should continue, Turkish existence on the island, Turkish troops for peace, stability and security should continue, and therefore in the new era, after being exhausted of the federal negotiations in the last 50 years, since Rauf Denktaş, our founding president, and Mehmet Ali Talat, and then Mr. Dr. Derviş Erolu, and then Mustafa Akıncı, they've held various efforts to negotiate a way out of the Cyprus problem to establish an agreement on a federal basis. They've all proved fruitless, and they've all been exhausted, including, as you know, the Annan Plan, the famous Annan Plan. It was a comprehensive United Nations effort to be able to come up with an agreement for the Cypriots. Unfortunately, Turkish Cypriots said yes to the plan, despite a lot of headaches that would have obviously they would have given us a lot of headaches for the Turkish Cypriots. Despite that, we said yes to the Annan Plan just to be able to secure a peace agreement. Unfortunately, Greek Cypriots, 76% overwhelmingly, they said no to the plan, as you all know. And since then, we are still struggling because after the Annan Plan, despite all the promises to the Turkish Cypriots that if we say yes, all the isolation and embargoes will be lifted so that the Turkish Cypriots can prosper, they refuse, unfortunately, to lift embargoes and isolations. But they, very unfortunately to us, Greek Cypriots said no to the plan, but they were accepted unilaterally as a full member of Europe. That created another complication to the Cyprus problem. The first complication after 1960 agreement was in 1963 when the United Nations, 4th March 1964, 186, they accepted that the Cyprus Republic does represent all Cypriots as a government, which was a major mistake, which was fatal, which was very unrealistic and very unfair to the Turkish Cypriots, because they refused to see that the 1960 agreements emanated from the two constituent co-founding partners, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. Therefore, the victims of the 1960 struggles, attacks on the Turkish Cypriots to kick them out of the state, therefore, the United Nations should have recognized this fact and should not have recognized the Republic of Cyprus, led by Makarios, as the sole government of Cyprus, but unfortunately they did it. And the second mistake was a European mistake. Despite the Turkish Cypriots' good faith, they accepted the Cyprus government as a full member of Europe, and since then the Cyprus problem has got even more complicated. First, United Nations recognition. Secondly, full member of Europe as obviously Greek Cypriots in Europe, together with their motherland Greece. They complicated the issue even more, and the European mechanism got stuck, because they are obviously influenced by their masters, two masters being one of them Greece, the other one Greek Cypriots. Since then we are trying to explain to the international community that all these efforts have been exhausted. In our good faith, we have not been able to achieve a solution to the problem, because the Greek Cypriots, their federal understanding is for a Cyprus Federal Republic to be founded, and the north and the south of the island in a united model to join Europe, and next their insistence is zero troops, zero guarantee. In a way, asking for Turkey, because after a Cyprus Federal Republic joining Europe altogether, Cyprus will be completely in Europe, and they will ask Turkey to move out, because Turkey is not a member of Europe. That's the game played, and the Turkish Cypriots obviously recognize this trap, and therefore we always refuse to say yes to this, because Turkish guarantee is of paramount significance to our existence. Turkish troop existence on the island is paramount significance to our security. And these days, when we see what happened in Ukraine, Russian-Ukraine conflict, and the Europeans, the NATO, and the Americans watching what's happening in Ukraine, before that what happened in Bosnia, before that what happened elsewhere, we know what does happen. What happens is that they make a lot of declarations for peace and stability, for humanity, this, that, and the other, but nothing happens on the ground. Therefore, what the Turkish people went through before 1974, that bitter experience, what we have our in living memories, we never forget. Therefore, we will never want to go through that hell again. Therefore, Turkish guarantee, Turkish existence on the island for our peaceful existence and security is of paramount critical importance for our existence. Therefore, we will never give up on that. Therefore, together with Turkey, we have been able to develop a new policy after I was elected as the president of the Turkish Republic of Cyprus, on what I have said, on what about our arguments, basically that it's futile to search for a federal agreement in Cyprus, because what is being done is quite obvious. It's all been exhausted. Therefore, the basis for a future agreement should only be on two sovereign equal states living side by side. Since the Turkish Cypriots have had their own state since 1963, and the Greek Cypriots have been able to turn this Cyprus Republic into a pure Greek Cypriot Republic, there is no point in wasting more time in uniting these two together in the new world order. We have Turkey behind us, we have Turkey supporting our policy. We want peace, stability, and order to continue in Cyprus and in the region. Therefore, we are insisting that, as Turkish Cypriots, to resume formal negotiations for our sovereign equality and equal international status to be recognized. For this to happen, we need the Greek Cypriots and their friends to recognize this. And we have asked the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres in Geneva last April in our meeting with the support of our guarantor, Turkish Republic, and her Foreign Minister, Mevlut Çavuşoğlu, in those meetings, that the United Nations Secretary General takes an initiative to take this new proposal to the United Nations Security Council, and there they can take a new decision saying that to be able to pave forward a new opportunity to find a peaceful agreement for Cyprus, that sovereign equality and equal international status of the Turkish Cypriots is recognized. In fact, according to us, reaffirmed, not recognized because we already have it. The 1960 agreements does explicitly say that the Republic of Cyprus emanates from the two different peoples, Turkish Cypriots, Greek Cypriots. They both have their sovereignty because of the past history of the island, because of the way how things developed into negotiated settlement in 1960 with the establishment of the 1960 agreements. And when you look at the history and how things were negotiated, you can see that the British government who annexed the island from the Ottomans, from the Turkish Republic, that they were, in a way, in the Eastern Mediterranean, preserving a position of neutrality. But the international committee in the United Nations, when they discussed the Cyprus problem, they never encouraged Greece and the church and the Greek Cypriots and Makarios and Grivas that the only way for peace and order was to unite Cyprus to Greece. That was rejected by the international community. And a new opportunity was paved in, which was basically Turkish Cypriots, Greek Cypriots, co-founders of the newly founded Republic of Cyprus in 1960, guarantor powers, United Kingdom, Greece, and Turkey. And therefore, Turkey, since the Lausanne Agreement in 1923, 16th point, did say that in the future, if there is a change in the status in Cyprus, Turkey will always have a say. Turkey did have a say. Turkey, that's why, has had an instrumental role in the 1960 new Republic of Cyprus, and Turkey became a guarantor power. And since then, what we are following logically is basically to preserve the stability in the Eastern Mediterranean, because Turkey is only 40 miles away. Turkey also has vested interest in the Eastern Mediterranean. And since then, we have had a lot of developments in the Eastern Mediterranean. As you know, the Syria issue, Libya issue, Egypt, Greece, Greek Cypriots. Now we have Russia-Ukrainian developments, and therefore the Europeans becoming very uncomfortable with the Russian gas, relying completely on Russian gas. Therefore, in the recent weeks, we have had Turkey a new approach with Israel. Maybe we will have new developments. Therefore, the region is of more critical importance. Therefore, when you see all these developments in the last century and in the last few years, Eastern Mediterranean and the Mediterranean as a whole, as a region, has become much more critical. Therefore, when you look at the illustrated maps of the maritime law, economic zones, sea laws, other interests in the Mediterranean and in the aerospace, Turkey being one of the major factors in the countries of this region and our guarantor power, and with the expectation of the Greek Cypriots as co-founders of the Republic of Cyprus, it is only our right to insist for peace and stability, for our security, for our existence, that hereafter we should insist on our state. It's not easy to establish a state. To establish a state with that state's functions, powers, laws, and to give a hope for a future for a people. We are a people, as you said in your introductory speech, Turkish Cypriots. We have our own religion, we have our own laws, we have our own culture, we have our own history, we have our own past, we have our own connections. We have our own, as human beings, self-determination rights. When you look at the United Nations Charter, United Nations declarations, law and order declarations, all sorts of diplomatic channels, what they say is all nations have the right for self-determination. They have the right to determine their own future. They have the right to give hope to their children for future generations, for peace, stability, and to be able to exist. Therefore, Turkish Cypriots, what we have gone through, our challenges, our fights, our determination to exist, our achievements, our successes, with the support of our motherland Turkey, and the obviously critical region like Eastern Mediterranean and the Mediterranean as a whole, what we have gone through, what we have lived through, and the opportunities exhausted on a federal basis now gives us a new challenge. And this new challenge is the new policy. The new policy is if they expect us to resume formal negotiations in Cyprus, we expect and demand that the international community, the United Nations, does give us the opportunity for our sovereign equality and equal international status reaffirmed. If they do that, then we will be able to sit down to formally negotiate all aspects of the Cyprus problem. When I say this sovereign equality is our right, it is our right because it is an inherent right. Inherent right emanates from the international agreement, 1960 agreements. All signatures below the agreement with the guarantor powers, that gives us the right as an inherent right. And we have had various legal opinions from experts, from international lawyers, from international diplomats, and these efforts does give us the legal right also for this inherent sovereign equality, which we are now asking and demanding the world to recognize. If we achieve this, then we can sit to formally negotiate the Cyprus problem. We as Turkish Cypriots, we are obviously ascribing a lot of importance, significance to peace, stability in the region. We do obviously appreciate what motherland Turkey has been doing over these years. They are supporting our case wholeheartedly in international dimensions everywhere. And with the support of Turkey, I am sure that the Turkish Cypriots will get there, because the humanity, the world order, the international community, with what's going on recently in Ukraine and how things can be destabilized, how dangerous things can be. Nobody can tell us that wars are behind, disputes are behind. We can only have peace and stability. Therefore, let's come back, let's give in and hope for the best. We cannot do that. We have to be very careful. We have to be extremely careful because we have suffered a lot in the past. And what we have gone through now, what we are seeing in Ukraine once more demonstrates that anything can happen anytime. Therefore, we have to be very careful.
President, we were together in Geneva last year for the UN talks in Geneva, and it was the idea of the two-state solution was promoted. What is the stage of discussions? What is the advancement of this idea now?
Unfortunately, we have not had the encouragement that we expected from our Greek Cypriot friends and the Europeans, because they are in a bloc, and that bloc does say that they recognize the Republic of Cyprus, and their treatment to us is that on daily matters, they recognize the Republic of Cyprus, and they insist that the Turkish Cypriots, in a way, should be part of that process, but only as a part of the Republic of Cyprus. This is something that we can never accept. We try to explain in detail what it would mean that if we were to accept for daily economic benefits or daily economic facilities, that if we accept the authority of the Republic of Cyprus, that would weaken our position, that would undermine our authority, that would undermine our sovereignty. Because we say the essence, the crux of the Cyprus problem is a sovereignty problem. Greek Cypriots insist, obviously for their benefit, that they are in a way the sole authority. They are the sovereignty. They master the sovereignty of the island, and they would appease us if we can tolerate to kind of toward the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus to weaken so that their authority oversees our authority. That would destabilize the situation. Therefore, we are very careful and we insist that we will not share that kind of authority. We are as sovereign as they are. They are sovereign, we respect that, but we are also sovereign. Therefore, in the future, if we are going to an agreement which will be sustainable, which will be just, which will be peaceful, which will be realistic, which will be reasonable, then our sovereign equality, which is inherent, should be recognized so that we can sit to resume formal negotiations to establish or to reach an agreement for the future of Cyprus. But at the moment, with the way they are treated as the sole authority for Cyprus, this is not the way forward. This would obviously mean continuing to do injustice to the Turkish Cypriots because they are treated as the sole government of Cyprus. We are being treated unfairly because we cannot have direct flights, we cannot have direct flights. We have all sorts of embargoes on the Turkish Cypriots, which does hinder progress, which does inhibit our economic prospects and prosperity on the island. We think it is, in this day and age, very unfair, and we will never tolerate this kind of treatment. Therefore, the only way forward to us is, together with the support of the Turkish government, to be able to, despite these embargoes, to prosper our economy, to prosper our tourism, our universities, to have more students from various countries, to have our industry, to have our basic services sector and agriculture, to have growth. To be able to have growth, obviously, we need to have reforms in Cyprus so that we can compete. To be able to compete, we need to control our costs. A lot of challenges ahead of us, and obviously, because of the embargoes and isolations, it makes our life more difficult. But despite these difficulties, we are determined to continue to support our own state and to succeed in these difficult conditions. We have no alternative, because Greek Cypriots, unfortunately, we know this from the past, and what we are then trying to do is they're still trying to compress, they are trying to stifle us, they are trying to do everything injustice, embargoes, isolation, so that the Turkish Cypriots, in a way, come to a point where they give up. They say, they expect us to say, okay, let's come to an agreement. What kind of agreement? For us to, in a way, get rid of the Turkish Republic of North Cyprus and join the Republic of Cyprus as a community under the Greek Cypriot authority. This is suicide for the Turkish Cypriots. We will never accept Greek Cypriot authority over our authority. We want the international community to understand what the Cyprus problem is about. Cyprus problem is about this challenge of authority and sovereignty. Turkish Cypriots are as sovereign as Greek Cypriots are. They are saying we are the masters of Cyprus, we are the sole sovereign authority. Therefore, if there is going to be an agreement in Cyprus, Turkish Cypriots will tolerate to forget about their own state and go and join the Republic of Cyprus, which is the only recognized and full member of Europe. That would mean the end of the Turkish Cypriots. That would mean cutting the bonds of the Turkish government. Turkey, Anatolia, is a big power. I read a lot of history. In 1923, Turkish population was 17 million. In 1964, 30 million. In 1974, 60 million, now 85 million. In 2050, maybe Turkish nation will be 120 million, only 40 miles away. And Europeans saying, we took Cyprus. What kind of treatment is this? Mr. Catalan, Ottomans ruled Cyprus for 380 years. They annexed Cyprus, according to my interpretation, unconstitutionally and in a way contrary to international agreements. And after Lausanne, obviously the Turkish government, with the help of Turkish Cypriots, we tried to restore a peace and stability in the Eastern Mediterranean. And 1960 agreement is a critical stone in the historical process, because in 1960, as I tried to explain, not only the Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots living in peace and stability in a new order, but it also tried to restore stability in the Eastern Mediterranean by restoring Turkish-Greece equilibrium. It's an equilibrium.
At this level, Mr. President, does it exist in Northern Cyprus a general consensus on the politics to be implemented to address this hot international issue?
Obviously, this is a national issue, Mr. Katuran. Cyprus issue is a national issue, both for the Turkish Cypriots and the Turkish race, Turkish people. Therefore, because of the isolation, because of the embargoes, because of the way we are treated, that does never mean that we will give up from our historical rights in Cyprus. As I have been trying to tell you, Greek Cypriots think that because of the embargoes, because of the isolations on the Turkish Cypriots, obviously we have had hard times. We have not been able to develop our economy as much as we should have done because of these unfair treatment. But that does not mean that we will give up. We will never give up, because this is a national issue. With the support of Turkey, despite these unfair treatments, we have been able to grow our economy, tourism, universities, agriculture. We have had water flowing in from Turkey into North Cyprus. It's a major project. You can't even do it with $1 billion, but Turkish government, Mr. Erdogan, our president, did make it an effort, and Anatolian water is now flowing into Cyprus, which in an island like Cyprus does help our economy, does help our agriculture, does help the quality of life. Therefore, we have had major projects developed in Cyprus since 1974, and we are hopeful when we look into the future with the Turkish support and with what we have, our resources, our determination, our people's efforts, and what we have been able to demonstrate so far. We are very hopeful that we will have a prosperous future. But for us to be able to do this, obviously, we need the support of the international community, because we deserve it. We deserve it because we are a challenging people. We have gone through hard times. We have gone through genocide. We have gone through a lot of hardship. We have had some of our people migrated away from the island to the United Kingdom, to Turkey, to other places, because we have not been able to keep them on the island because of the economic hardship times. But with the support of our people throughout the world, we have been able to develop our state to a point where the Turkish Cypriot people with the Turkish Republic of Cyprus does have the right to challenge, to ask, to demand for our sovereignty to be reaffirmed. I'm not asking for recognition, because that does already exist. 1960 agreements does explicitly say that the sovereignty of Cyprus emanates from the two peoples, and the Turkish Cypriots are as sovereign as Greek Cypriots. Therefore, it is our demand from the international community to wake up, to realize the realities in Cyprus, and to reaffirm what they promised, what they did say in 1960, and with the reaffirmation of our sovereign equality, which is inherent right, then we can sit to formally negotiate the Cyprus problem with all its dimensions, with the territorial issue, all aspects of it, and therefore to secure an agreement for a better Cyprus, which would mean stability in the Eastern Mediterranean, with all the challenges, with hydrocarbon, as you said in your speech, gas, oil, and the others, and with the possibility from the Eastern Mediterranean with a pipeline over Turkey. Turkey is only 40 miles away from Cyprus. If this pipeline goes through Cyprus to Turkey, with the major existing pipelines to Europe, that would mean much more feasible, much more easy, and it can be done with no time. Whereas the EastMed pipeline project, as you know, which just they said this is not possible because it required billions of dollars, thousands of kilometers of pipeline under deep seas, which was impossible. That was a political movement, but it turned out to be infeasible. Therefore, they gave up. Therefore, the only alternative, feasible alternative, would be a pipeline through Cyprus. And when obviously it does have to go through Cyprus, then everybody should come up to recognize the fact that Cyprus does not only belong to Greek Cyprus, Republic of Cyprus, they have to recognize the fact, the reality of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Therefore, we have to be part of the meetings.
President, I am told that the time runs fast. Perhaps we could give the floor to some or two questions if somebody is interested to put a question to His
Please.
Excellency.
Yes.
Sir, could you speak in English? Perhaps in Turkish I will not understand.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı, Yunanistan'dan Batrakya'dan
Could
geliyorum.
you speak in English by
Birlik
courtesy,
gazetesi.
please?
I speak no perfect English. I speak German.
Me too, me too.
Yunanistan'dan Batrakya Birlik gazetesi. Yunanistan'ın Kıbrıs sorununa yönelik çözümünü bugüne kadar nasıl değerlendiriyorsunuz? Ve son olarak bu sorunun çözülmesi için Yunanistan'a ne gibi bir mesaj göndermek istersiniz? Bunu öğrenmek istiyorum. Teşekkür ederim. Thank you.
Well, according to the Turkish Cypriots, Greece has always had this vision, together with their friends in Cyprus, in Greek Cyprus, that Cyprus is historically part of Greece. After the Aegean Islands, after Greece, after Rhodos, they did their best somehow, despite international agreements, despite the 1960 agreement, to unite Cyprus to Greece. And on the 15th of July 1974, they did a fatal mistake. When the colonials of Greece, they, together with their friends in Cyprus, they overthrew Makarios and declared Cyprus Hellenic Republic on the 15th of July 1974 with a view to unite Cyprus to Greece, Enosis. But we were obviously against it, and we demanded, we asked Turkey, our motherland, to intervene. And Turkey did, fortunately, intervene on the 20th of July 1974, when the Turkish army moved in to preserve peace and order and save the Turkish Cypriots from total massacre on the 20th of July 1974. Therefore, Greece learned a lot from that fatal mistake, and since then we have had the new order in Cyprus. We have had the Turkish Cypriots consolidate their state, and in 1983 we have had Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, and since then we are developing a two-state model. Despite all the efforts for a united Cyprus on a federal basis, with our good efforts in good faith, all been refused. Now we, Turkish Cypriots, together with the support of Turkey, we are saying enough is enough. The only way forward would be two states living side by side, two sovereign equal states. That's our new policy, and I am sure that our Greek Cypriots have learned a lot from their past mistakes, but the only way forward would be for two states living side by side.
Do we have another question? The last one, because... yes, excuse me, madam, I didn't look at you. The microphone is coming. Please.
Thank you. A very short and simple question. What happens if the Greek Cypriots just say no, we don't accept a two-state solution, and they continue to hold that position? What does that mean for the future of Northern Cyprus?
Basically, we have to keep fighting. We have to continue to do our best to develop our own state, Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, and to give hope and prosperity to our people. It's only our right, and we would demand from the international community that we are being treated very unfairly, that this balance of powers is being abused against the Turkish Cypriots because they have had this upper hand for some historical unfortunate reasons, as I've been trying to explain to you, in 1964 because of the United Nations decision, and lately the European decision to take Cyprus Republic unilaterally on their own into Europe, the balance of power tilted against the Turkish Cypriots in favor of the Greek Cypriots. If they are going to continue this status quo so unfairly according to the Turkish Cypriots, then we would demand mercy, we would demand fairness, we would demand equality, we would demand that the world order, which is based on diplomacy, culture, and all the good things associated with it, that they should look once again to the reality in Cyprus and try to consolidate our republic. They can do what they like, but we will never give in. We will never give up our own state and join a pure Greek republic. Therefore, we will insist that we will consolidate our own state, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, and try to prosper and give hope for our future generations. That's all we can do. We cannot do anything more.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that we have to stop now because I see the protocol coming to me every 2 minutes. I want to thank you for your contribution. It was a very interesting exchange. And inshallah, things will improve.
Jim Paul Carteron, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.